Best action.
I have a feeling I know this one.
And if you guessed Bleach, you're wrong.
I'm thinking
solo leveling.
TNMP, the Nerdy Misfit Podcast, with your hosts, Connor O'Neill and Matthew Hughes.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Nerdy Misfit Podcast.
Howdy doodly. We are back at it again.
We're bringing Gray along.
Bring Gray.
Say hello, Gray.
Yep. Against my will, as always, but yes, I'm here.
Yep. So, today's episode is, if you're following the continuity of the podcast, the Crunchyroll nominations episode was a few weeks, a couple
months ago or so
back, and here we are covering the Anime Awards.
Results.
Now, this is the Crunchyroll Anime Awards. We should be specific, but I will say that this is, I think we can all agree, this is the largest audience for the Anime Awards at the moment, hence why it is the one we are covering. Is it the best? Well, stay tuned and find out if that is what we conclude. But yeah, I guess before we dive right into it, was anyone surprised by some of the results?
Unfortunately, not much.
Great.
as Matt trails off. In a way, yes, but mostly no. I wasn't really too surprised with how this ended up.
I've come to learn that, maybe we should just be happy that some anime even were nominated. It was nice to see a good mix of genres and maybe anime that you wouldn't think would get nominated in past.
Is that exactly true? That's also not it wasn't like a wide variety of nominations either. It was the same 6 anime over and over and over again.
Yeah, but if you look back at some Crunchyroll awards, even series such as something like the Apothecary Diaries, for example, I wouldn't even get nominated. Wouldn't even see it get nominated if it was in a certain season of anime or certain year of big hitting titles. So it's nice to see that it at least got recognized. And we'll get into some other ones. But yeah, so basically we'll go through all of the different awards that we voted for. If some of them will go quick, some of them we might touch on and maybe even mention what we chose, or maybe if we would even adjust our vote, who knows.
Mm-hmm.
We'll also have a quick little session about other anime awards, perhaps, if you guys are more interested in something that maybe feels a little bit more critical or analytical. And maybe some rants and raves on the way. But without further ado, I guess we'll jump into the first winner, and this is the best voice artist performance
in English.
Now, there's a lot of performance related awards. We're only going to be doing English and Japanese because of the three of us, those are the only two.
Yeah, to give you context, there's
out.
Portuguese, French, Spanish, I think German,
Hindi.
There's a bunch of different ones. Yeah.
And yeah, so jumping right in, the winner was Alex Lee, who is the voice of Sung Jin-woo, who is the main character of Solo Leveling. Solo Leveling Season 1. I mean, they didn't recast him in Season 2, but it was worth noting that it is Season 1.
This is only Season 1.
Not upset. I did find his trolling on social media to be quite funny during the first season of Solo Leveling, because it's got a pretty big fan base, probably even bigger now, but of the community that has read the series, whether novelization or the manga format. He was ready to troll with some iconic lines, and he had his own little flair to it, which was fun to see. I know obviously that doesn't impact his actual performance, but it's nice to see someone show off their personality on social media as well and have a lot of fun with the role they're playing. Not much to say. I don't find this egregious.
No,
No, this was literally what we voted together on the last episode. So seeing this, I don't really have too much to add. I think we said a good amount when we voted it.
All right, working our way to Japanese. Just I'll scroll through a bit. Arabic, nope. Japanese. We have the voice of Mao Mao, Aoi Yuki.
Yes.
Yeah, no complaints here. Thought the voice actress did a fabulous job.
Yep.
Is this who we voted?
Very.
Yeah, that's who we voted
Yeah,
for.
yeah. This is what we voted. No, so
All right.
for us, at least no surprises here.
2 for 2. All right, what's the next award?
We got Best Ending Sequence.
Best ending sequence.
Another win for Solo Levelings.
I honestly could not even
I don't
recall
remember
what
it.
the ending actually is for this first season. What did we vote for? Because I
We-
feel like I really
Kaiju
liked.
number
Yeah, I was
8.
gonna say I really
Yeah.
liked the.
Yeah, I
One
was gonna say
Republic
we voted
voted with that.
Kaiju number 8.
All right, I don't even remember what this ending sequence was for Solo. I'll check it out another time.
Oh, you're checking it out. I'm just trying to use my brain, but I'm also not like.
Huge on the ending
Oh,
sequences. It's got to.
Yeah, I was gonna say ending sequences almost have to get me within like the very first or second episode because
Like
I'll
the
watch
JJK
it
one.
once.
Like the JJK one. That one caught your eye the first time.
Uh,
Okay, next
Best
award.
opening sequence. We got Dandadan winning for the opening sequence. We also voted for this.
Some good options though, for sure.
Oh yeah,
Kaiju number 8, solid. Same with the Mashal season 2. I would have been even the One Piece anime Us was pretty solid. So wouldn't have been upset with any of them, to be honest.
No, that's not us. That's yous.
Oh, use
ooze. After that, we got
best opening.
best score.
Oh, best score. Okay.
That was just best opening.
best opening sequence.
Yeah, best opening sequence. Now we're at best score.
And the winner was Solo Leveling
Solo
for the
Leveling.
best score. I assume that we voted something like Freerin or
We did vote for Freerin.
I do like a lot of the OST within Solo Leveling. Both season 1 and season 2, but worth noting once again, this is only season 1.
Yep.
For me, when it comes to score, I feel like it's hard for me to say.
If one's truly
like-
better than the other.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say I feel like it's easier to pick out when things are bad rather than when things are just okay. Yeah, that worked. Like I feel like the middle ground is so much wider, where you're just like a lot of things work. Some things can be really good, and then some things can be really bad. So it's just easier to recognize the two extremes rather than if something's in the middle. So for this one, like there was nothing that I was like, oh yeah, that's probably an unfitting music track, but a lot of things I just probably wasn't paying attention
I
or
think-
not enough attention.
There is some recency bias, but I am quite surprised not to see Delicious in Dungeon in here after watching it recently. Now that, like I mentioned, could be recency bias.
Yeah.
But the music in that was also really solid.
Very fitting.
But like you said, I feel if something is really bad, then it just stands out so much more than something that is
Good.
good. So I guess maybe I would lean more towards in this category stuff that's more memorable. And Soul Leveling does have a few OCs that stick out to me personally at least. So I can see it.
Yeah, no, I couldn't even picture any of the stuff happening. Like even I know scenes in Solo Leveling because I'm very familiar with the source material, and so I know what's covered. But like even during important scenes in the episodes, I couldn't pick out what music was happening.
Right.
It's not like for me, like for example, like Made in Abyss, where I'd be like, oh yeah, like a lot of the songs in Made in Abyss have stood out to me, but I couldn't do the same with this.
All right.
Makes sense.
What do we have next?
Next one we got best anime song
Best anime song.
goes to Dan.
So best opening sequence
Or-
and the best song.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think
I'm not
that's-
shocked.
Yeah, don't
These
think that's too
categories are.
They're very similar, but they are different.
Yeah.
The question is, do people recognize what the difference is? Your average.
Well, I'm also like double back and looking between opening sequence and anime song, and like aren't most of these the same?
I think most of them are.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's not I think it is on purpose. Like, best anime song, I'm taking it as, for the most part, just the opening. And opening sequence, I'm taking it as the opening plus visuals.
I mean, I'm not disappointed either way. I think we voted differently. But I feel like every time that we vote, I try to separate a lot of things as possible to give them a much wider variety in the awards. So
yeah, I think for me, for song, I could see either of the Creepy Nuts songs winning for the song, just because you think about how much they also exploded on social media, both of them.
Mm-hmm.
I also really liked Abyss for Kaiju number 8.
That's the one we voted collectively.
But best opening sequence, I agree with. The visuals plus the song was fantastic for Don Da Don. Next category. Must Protect.
This category was stupid.
This one, I mean, it's there every year for the most part. I can't remember when they first introduced it, but it's been there a while. Not too surprised. I feel like the most cute, adorable character should
win.
Most often always wins. You know, shout out to Senshi, but
yeah, but Senshi can hold his own.
Anya Forger, just makes sense. Simple as that. Don't even think it. I mean, they don't show us the percentages, but I don't imagine it's very close.
Yeah. Moving on. Best supporting character.
Best supporting character
goes to Fern, of course, from Freerun.
Fern from Freerun, great character. Not upset to see this.
I'm assuming that's probably who we picked, because on our vote
that's who we picked. It doesn't say Himmel, but I'm pretty sure we were probably leaning more towards Fern.
Yeah,
definitely. Even though Himmel is a good character.
Yep. Great character.
This one I don't think is. This one's something that I also don't think is too shocking. In terms of like there's like the two Dan characters. As it like a lot of these awards just have the same generally the same 6 anime throughout it.
Right, and some of these supporting characters like Turbo Granny, like that's a pretty weak sauce. Character compared to someone like Fern.
I can agree with that. As much as I do like Turbo Granny, and probably I've been exposed to her in a longer degree because of the manga.
Just the first season.
And it's just like the very first season, and to be honest, Turbo Granny really hasn't done all that much yet.
Yeah, and I mean, compared to some of the other heavier hitters, you know, Jinshi, Senshi, Fern.
Well, even comparing Fern, like Fern is pretty much a main, like an actual like main character. I know it says this is best supporting character, and Turbo Granny and a lot of these people, like I guess Senshi is technically a main character as well. Some of these are also actual just side characters. They're not actual main characters. So
Fern is more
trying to compare that to a main character is
she's
a lot more
definitely
difficult.
Integral to the main story, and the supporting, you could argue, is just she's supporting the main character.
Exactly.
And she is doing it very much so in the story. Kind of funny. What do we add next, boys?
Best main character.
Do-do-do-do-do.
And it is the main boy from Soul Leveling. Are you guys seeing a trend here?
I'm starting to see a trend, actually, now that you mentioned that.
And I called this out pretty early on in the last one, where I feel like all these always awards end up just going very similarly down.
Yeah.
Whatever one particular thing ends up getting a bunch of awards.
And other ones get.
I'm interested to know why people voted for Sung Jin Woo, because for me, he has got to be one of the most bland MCs.
That's like the thing I don't get about it is like I don't hate Sung Jin Woo, but he's a template character.
Yeah,
like he literally
he's like a you in this power fantasy, right? Like
exactly. It's like a blank canvas for people to potentially place themselves and be like, I could see myself being like that, but it's like, yeah, that's because he's boring and he fits
generic
anything
boy.
For now.
Yeah. Very generic.
So
very boring. Sad to see. I mean, there's some great options here. Freerun, both Okran and Momo are here.
Even
Mao's here.
Kafka's better.
Well, there was literally 4 better characters to pick from.
There are 5 better characters. Yeah.
No, I still, to be honest, I probably like this guy better than Kafka, maybe, but that's just me.
I think from an actual character, like in terms of backstory and goals, etc., I do think Kafka's better. Just as an overall character, because he's actually got something going on.
He actually has substance.
Yeah, there's something there. Now, if you like that something, that's a different story, but at least there's something. I just think this is like the weakest character, not in terms of power, but in terms of personality. Yeah. So I assume we probably picked like Freerin.
We picked Apothecary, I believe.
Oh, we
for
picked
best
Mau
main
Mau?
character.
Yeah, we picked Mau
Mau.
Mau.
Because I think we felt
because I think the general reason we picked Mau Mau is because Mau Mau also like runs her show.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like without Mau Mau,
there is no
that show.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that show is not like non-existent. I'm sorry, like obviously the side characters are good, but they only play as much off Mau Mau as possible. Like if there was no Mau Mau, can she really be a thing? No.
And as we saw, great voice acting, performance helps as well. It just really seals the deal for the character. Yeah. Okay. What's the next award?
Best slice of life.
Slice of life.
Making too many losing heroines.
Hey,
Machine.
Let's go. I liked this show, so I'm happy.
It is the one we voted for, though I have not seen any of these.
Happy to see it get a dub. Dangers in My Heart would be strange to see win Slice of Life. But also a great show. My Dear Friend, no to condone. No. Funny. Some parts were funny. I mean, depends if you find cringe humor funny, but yeah. I have seen that Sound Euphonium season 3. I do know that the people who like this series love this series.
Wait, did you say you've seen it or you haven't seen it?
No, I've seen like on like Reddit and what's not, like people who love this show.
Seen Euphonium? I have not seen Euphonium,
but they love it. The people who have, they're pretty diehard. I mean, no surprise. Kyoto Animation, fantastic studio. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this personally.
Next up, we got best drama, and it goes to Freerin.
Freerin as best drama.
Not what we went for, but that's okay.
I assume that I know in our votes we gave Freerin a couple bigger awards, so we passed on, I believe, this to the Apothecary Diaries because you wanted to spread the love a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not upset to see Freerin win. I am, however, starting to see a trend with my one of my favorite shows from last year not getting anything so far other than the voice actress, but nothing for the actual show, which is a bit sad so far. Gray, you have anything to say? You're Freeman?
Oh, what?
Solid drama?
About drama? I don't know. I'd have to almost feel like I reread some of these category listings, because Freerin, in terms of the main, if it's like, it's weird when it's you have a bunch of subgenres added to a show where I'm like, sometimes I feel like these categories, drama should be the main genre, which I'm like, is drama the main genre for Freerin?
This is like when me and Matt.
But it's like, is it even the main genre for Apothecary Diaries? No, but I don't know. It's a weird category where I feel like,
because a lot of shows fit in even if they're not truly a drama, right? That's the issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and Matt.
That's why, in my opinion, and I think I even mentioned when we were doing our voting, I think Dead Dead Demons is probably the best drama. It's a human drama. It's actually like the main thing, part of the show, like the show main genre. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's like when Matt and I do the Anadol, and we'll see like, oh, this show is a this drama, this, and you're like, and then when we finally get to the answer, we're like, you're so heavily focused on drama. Like if we were to do one, say, for Freerin, and we saw drama as one of the greens, is this a show that's going to come to your mind right away for drama?
No,
like you're not gonna
I was gonna say, I think maybe drama, maybe it's just also with this particular genre that drama is just everything in some way, if you think about it, is a drama.
Yeah, if there's like emotions involved and decisions that cause
character growth or mass amounts of character growth, I don't know, it's I don't know. It's a weird category for me. That's all I'll say. So regardless of who won, I think there would always be. It's like, oh yeah, I guess this category is just weird.
All right, moving on to the next.
Best Isekai
Best
goes to
Isekai.
ReZero Season 3.
Yep,
Good.
got no complaints there.
I don't
Konosuba
think this
Season 3
was-
was pretty good, but I don't think it was close. I think that's what
I was gonna say I don't think it was close, and this also could be hype up because the time difference between even ReZero Season 2 and Season 3 was so great.
Yep.
That it might have just spurred people on as well, where some of these have been more consistently releasing. And or that's the thing, some people might actually be more sick of things like, for example, like Slime Season 3. Like, I think people are starting to get well, that's exactly it. People are probably starting to get a little bit like slimed out. They're like, oh, that might not be. And then
also
Mushoku Tensei, I could have
very specific.
Yeah.
It's like Season 2, but the specifically core
Part
2.
two.
Yeah, this was the other one that I could have seen doing it as well, in terms of what an isekai provides.
Yep, for sure. I would recommend that whole top 3 row, including even Slime. But like you said, for me personally, even Slime has gone to that point where it's kind of like, But ReZero, every time there's a season, I'm just like, and it could be because of the spacing, but every time there's a season of ReZero, it's like,
Put me in, coach. Ready.
For real.
Yeah, I say the spacing affects it. That's not to take away from the fact that ReZero is
of
also
course.
really good.
But yeah. On to the next.
Best Action.
I have a feeling I know this one.
And if you guessed Bleach, you're wrong.
I'm
'cause it's
thinking
solo
Solo
leveling.
Heck yeah. Now this is one I can
Understand.
get on board with. I don't believe it's the one we picked.
No, we picked Bleach.
No, but
No,
we
we-
might have been,
But
even just looking at our vote, we might have been anti.
solo leveling.
Yeah, we might have
We're-
been anti-solo
We're
leveling.
trying too hard. But to be fair, season 1, like season 2, I would give best action easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that is something to actually take away from, is we were probably also considering more so than other people the difference in seasons.
Yes. Season 2, unfortunately, for the anime awards, was airing during the voting process
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
the anime
So-
awards. And I don't think a lot of people cued in that this
It's
was-
not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same season. It was
No, I actually saw a clip of someone who commented. They're just like, "Oh yeah, it was who must be solo leveling this that and the other thing." And it's like, what about Freerun? And like, Freerun came out this year. Like, people just don't know.
Yeah. And solo leveling, I feel like, I correct me if I'm wrong, but for me, solo leveling really doesn't get good until
The last episode of season
the
1.
last episode of season 1, when he gets the first, like, what we would call like an S class,
Yeah.
summonable, if you will. Like,
Now, obviously, I'm inclined to agree that that is the biggest hump, but I do think that there's still moments of it. Like, even in the double dungeon sequence, that's where I was already like very intrigued in the show.
but as an action show, I'm not saying like, I like the show.
The double dungeon sequence is pretty action packed.
Are we talking about like the first one where he gets?
Murked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
the one where he literally gets like dumpstered on,
Yeah, no, I would
and where
say-
you see like the enemy, like the smiling statue. I'm like, oh man, that's pretty intense.
Yeah, and that's a good setup for the story, but I don't know. For me, that doesn't mean best action.
No, but you said you were saying when the show doesn't start to get good until this point. I just disagree with that.
I'm just meaning the show doesn't actually evolve into a full action show until that point, is what I'm saying. Like, if you compare the amount of action in season 1 to the amount of action in season 2, it's
Doesn't
like night
compare.
and day.
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
thinking of it in the context of just best action, not as a show.
Okay, well, I was just going off of what you said, which is it doesn't actually get good until this point.
Yeah.
So I was throwing out the other side defense. That's all.
That's fair.
I don't think you need to cover its defense. I think there's plenty of people on the internet that'll do that for you.
There's a reason. Moving on. Best comedy goes to my favorite anime, Mashal.
Yeah, not surprised. It definitely it's pretty popular. People like it. There are It's hard to say technically better because I feel like a lot of them are a lot. Comedy is so subjective.
Yeah, it really is.
Delicious in Dungeon, we've recently covered it. Good, self plug. Anime of the month was literally last week,
episode
where we covered Delicious in Dungeon, and we say like some of the humor
doesn't hit other,
and I can see where
parts
some people
do.
could think it's hilarious, but other parts I can see people cringing and being like, that's just not even close to being funny.
Exactly.
Konosuba, 3rd season. Who's even on the 3rd season? That's already a point against it.
Yeah.
Also, the humor is also quite subjective.
Well, yeah, because if you're looking at this list, the comedy between Konosuba, Mashal, and Spy Family, for example, are 3 completely different versions
Styles
of comedy.
Yeah, exactly.
And Delicious in Dungeon has different style comedy too, right? It really, like you said, it is super subjective.
No Katan also. Like, I didn't hate No Katan. I thought there were definitely some funny elements, but Gray, I know that you were not a fan of it at all.
No, I watched episode 1, and it was one of those shows where I'm like, I can see where, just like someone should play the laugh track, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that was supposed to be funny. And then
But I'm not
I
laughing.
heard, yeah, exactly. I was just like, okay. And then afterwards, people were like, oh yeah. Some people told me that it even like episode 1 was like kind of, it already was at its peak.
That
and
was
then
like the peak of the comedy.
Yeah,
Dang.
that was the peak of it being really funny, and then it started to trail off, and I'm like, oh crap, I didn't even find it that funny to begin with. So I didn't end up watching it. No.
Yeah. So, not surprised. I mean, could have gone pretty well anyway. Mashal, I think it does have that very dry humor delivery. And if you enjoy the whole, I don't fit into this power system, and they're really leaning into just, in this case, no magic and just using fists and
Yeah.
other ridiculous elements of just raw strength to make up for the lack of magic. There's
Oh,
some
yeah,
parts that are funny.
And your deadpan, no emotions main character.
So, I mean, it's not what I would have picked or what we picked as a group, but comedy is just one of those things,
Very subjective.
Yeah.
Moving on, best romance goes to Blue Box.
Great show. Great romance. I assume we picked Dangers in My Heart season 2.
Yep.
I think partly maybe it is that a lot of people haven't watched the Dangers in My Heart. I will say,
yeah, I was gonna say, even getting to season 2, there's some people who could probably watched or even just read the description of Dangers in My Heart.
The
Were like,
synopsis it kind of reminds me of the Bunny Girl Senpai, where like people are like, I'm not watching that. And then it's like almost completely different than what the show's original synopsis was.
bad written synopsis.
Yeah, it doesn't help the show. Great show. If you haven't checked it out because of the synopsis, you should check it out. It's a pretty, warms the heart, if you will. If it wasn't to win though for best romance, I am totally okay with Blue Box being there. Unfortunately, in the first season, we haven't quite got to romance per se. We've gotten romantic feelings that are there, but the classic will they, won't they, will they, but hey, that's part of the romance genre. So
Exactly. Next up, best background art goes to Freerin.
I feel like any of these could have won for the most part, and I would have been maybe Demon Slayer would have been a little bit like iffy.
I haven't seen Pluto, but the other 5, they all make sense to me. We went with the Apothecary Diaries.
I don't know. All these shows looked great. Nothing felt out of place during any of the watches for these. So
all really good looking shows. Like, from background art style to the animation, they're all done really well. So could have gone to anyone.
Yep. Next up, we got best director. Goes out to the director of Freerin. I'm gonna pronounce this terrible, like I usually do. Kaichiro Saito.
I believe, did we vote for Megumi? Or is that who I wanted to vote for?
We went for Delicious in Dungeon director.
Oh, we went for the Delicious in Dungeon. Okay. I was saying the One Piece fan letter, but maybe we opted not to because it was a one-off episode and it's kind of like weird.
I think that's exactly what we said.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
if you are a One Piece fan, absolutely great watch.
All of these are great options for this award, in my opinion. Again, I'm not finished Apothecary Diaries. I'm only a few episodes in, but of the few episodes I've seen, pretty content, really. Next one up, best character design goes to the winning of Dandadon.
Not upset either about this.
No.
I
So,
think
just
both
half-
in the manga and in the brought to life in the anime, I think it did a really good job of having, because typical shonen, you know, a lot of it takes place in high school, so you got the school uniforms. I do appreciate that some of the characters have their own unique vibe to their school uniform already, but their outfits outside of, they're dripping, you know?
Yeah, I was gonna say Dan is just known for the drip.
Like, they got some good streetwear going on in the show for some reason, and I'm here for it. I like it. So I'm not surprised to see that. On top of that, you got some pretty interesting looking aliens, some interesting looking ghosts.
Yep.
A little all over the place.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah, I think Apothecary Diaries, I really like the aesthetic of the setting, kind of like that old school China setting in the palace, and I like all of the fits, but in terms of total design, from the quote unquote bad guys, if you want to call aliens and monsters and whatnot bad guys, to the drip that just you see the main characters actually changing. You know, we're not just wearing some orange ninja outfit for the entire show.
It's actual costume changes.
But yeah, not sad to see it win.
Moving on, best animation. This one's not really surprising. Goes to Demon Slayer.
Weak.
That's what I mean. It's unfortunately not surprising because I feel like they probably have won this in the past. We all know the animation
win it
of
every
Demon
year they're
Slayer.
there.
I was gonna say we can't have Demon Slayer not win an award this year.
Of course not.
Gotta give it something.
For me, it was one of, if not the weakest arc.
Yeah.
And weakest.
But then again, but if we're talking in strict category terms, does it have good animation?
Yeah, it was fine, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things. In my opinion, I'm like, yeah, we've seen this animation before.
I guess. Okay, so let me put it this way: a lot of times when it comes to almost every Demon Slayer season, there's like that one episode where
pops off more.
It feels like that's where a lot of extra work went into.
Yeah.
And that's what everyone talks about for that whole season. And this Demon Slayer season, there was none of that. There was no one being like, oh my God, episode 6 was just...
Episode 19 was just crazy.
Like, and I think that's part of me where it's like, oh, it was... Not that it was badly animated, just it didn't have that holy crap episode like it usually does. And when you look at some of these other nominations, including Solo Leveling, the consistency was brought by all of the parties. Madhouse, I thought, did a really fantastic job. I think to the later parts of the second half of season 2, where at first we're just kind of following, and I'm just like, yeah, it's a really beautiful show.
Yeah, very
really,
pretty looking.
You know, it looks really good. Everything's clean. But then when you get to the dungeon scene and you see Freeman fight, I was like, okay, holy, okay, we're cooking fighting now. But my assumption is we gave this to
Freeman.
We gave it to Freeman.
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say I
like
would be
you're
totally
up,
okay with
So-
Don as well.
I do have a little bit of a question here now. So when you were talking mainly about, like, obviously, it's what I'm not going to say most people do focus on this, but most of the stuff that you were talking about is you're talking about the action parts of the anime being animated is what what mainly gets talked about.
That's what I'm saying for focus. Like Demon Slayer, people see the one episode, like, okay, let's just reference season 1. So episode 19. And that's just what people remember. Now the whole show is animated great.
Yeah.
Smooth, looks great. I mean, I guess if you're gray, you're probably gonna be like, well, those CGI balls.
Oh yeah, there was definitely CG. There were definitely CGI bamboo shoots hitting the ground and things in that show.
But for the most
too
part,
thrilled with.
Everyone just gets blinded by the extra, like Attack on Titan, watching like one of the Levi scenes, right?
Yeah, there's always going to be a scene or two that pops off more.
And it just sticks
the
with
rest of
people's
them.
heads, and that's
Yeah.
what they think of when they're voting. but the consistency of Freerun was amazing. And then it got even like action just makes for animation I'm sure this is how a lot of people feel is it kind of it's not as easy to hide. Or I guess it is in some ways because if you just add flashy effects, some people think that's animation and it's actually just effects. And
well, yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. I was kind of getting at the point where it's so much harder for a show to win best animation if it does not have action
That's
sequences.
what I'm trying to say. Yeah, so for Freerun, really great throughout, and then when we see the action scenes, it delivered on those as well. Not saying a show needs to have action to be well animated, but I mean, we've all seen Your Name and shows, movies such which look absolutely fantastic. But it just goes to show that we're watching Freerun, we're enjoying it. It's great, smooth, no issues, and then it's almost like it hits another level when you see action just as smooth as everything else. Like they held the quality because action scenes are more difficult to do well, animation wise, right? To show off something, going fast or the impact things have, etc.
Right, but the reason I brought this up is just because that's how I feel like this category gets muted with just generally action stuff.
I agree.
Like everyone just focuses on the action,
and I feel like that's probably how it's always going to be, right?
Well, I almost feel like that's the direction of pretty well everything in the anime sphere. We just action.
And I mean, that's why like I wouldn't have been upset if something like Down to Dom won because it's just very fast paced in like not just the fighting but just everything that's going on. There's a lot of crazy situations that occur and they all look great. You never feel like you're taking out of the show by some stuttery. Obviously, we mentioned, I think when we were talked about it, the original voting was the first episode. There was like this nervous, almost like, oh my, because there was like kind of this stutteriness at the very first episode. But after that, it was all really, really smooth sailing. All the different scenarios that the characters get put in, it all looks great. It all flows really well. But yeah, animation's a very hard thing to judge, especially if like you're very uneducated. I mean, I'm not very educated myself. I can pick up when stuff's stuttering, and I honestly, part of that I feel like I attribute to playing video games and just noticing lag in video games or FPS drops, or even noticing like, if your monitor, if you have like a 144 hertz monitor and you're playing a game at 60 hertz, you just kind of notice that something is not feeling as smooth. I attribute like a lot of my anime watching to be able to notice those things from video games. But I don't know the depth of how to animate something either. It's very hard to judge when you truly don't know. And I feel like Ray mentioned, it's kind of a crutch to just lean on, oh, well, the action shows were really well done. I didn't notice anything awful. But then people also think a bunch of cool effects like One Piece where it basically was becoming Dragon Ball. They're like, it's animated so well. And it's like, I don't know if it's animated so well. They have a lot more particle effects and things going on that make it look flashier, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily animated. What do you think, Ray? Have you deep dove into how to animate? I mean, you are animated.
Well, this is they calling this animated is a little bit different, but no, obviously, I know more than the average people about how things go with animation, which is, I mean, we've had discussions about this when it comes to something like CG and why people use CG and things like that, because classically, just animating things is not easy. It takes time. It takes a lot of effort.
Expensive.
But the thing was, I just wanted to bring more attention to the fact that
there's shows that aren't action shows that are also animated well.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Of which not even many of them get talked about.
Yeah,
like even in terms of this, like
there are always right? We could have had Look Back here, for example.
Yes. There's things like that where it's just like they just get sidestepped because the action animation takes a lot, and that's the thing. The action animation also takes a huge amount of effort to do.
Yep.
But I feel like it is like detracting, where it's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
The other thing is I feel like some people get confused by art style and animation, where typically I find that a lot of the big nominees often have a very similar visual feel. and the shows that perhaps something like Ping Pong the Animation or Devilman Crybaby, shows like this that are a lot more expressive with the art style that don't really hit that.
Yeah, I feel
same
like
spot
some
for
people
like they
some
just
some
yeah.
people don't notice it, but the other thing is those are also those are award-winning shows.
Oh yeah, no, I know they are. I just mean the average person might not even like them because it looks so different. It doesn't. They might not even think it's well animated because it just
Right, yeah. You're saying people just get attracted to the same thing and then they
which
stick
is
with
why
it.
we get a lot of
Stick in their comfort zone.
Which is why we get a lot of more copy pasta style art styles where maybe they.
It's not even just art styles; it's genres, it's themes,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
literally settings, everything. People will just be like, "Oh wait, this is working. I guess we'll just do this because that's what people like."
I think of
If it
like
ain't
the
broke,
kaiju.
don't fix it.
I think of the kaiju number 8. The biggest complaint from the first season was character design,
Yeah.
where they kind of, I'm gonna say, like generic animified them to look more like your average kind of copy pasta characters of how they're drawn in a lot of shows. And people were like, "No, that's not what." Like this character has sharper, like a sharper face.
More
and you didn't draw
expressive.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
So, like you said, Gray. Like obviously, what's at the end of the day, these are trying to sell a product, which is usually the source material, and they just want to get the most amount of eyes, and the best way to do that is to do what's working.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that that's the way it goes often. All right, Matt. What do we
Next
got
one, we got best original anime going to Ninja Kamui. We did Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night.
Yes. So Ninja Kamui
I'm not surprised.
was pretty solid. I will say they had me in the first half. Not gonna lie.
Well, that's what I mean. Feel like I caught everyone in the first half, and then oh look, it's an action series.
Yeah, the first half was awesome, and I don't even think the show hit the action level for fight choreography since like the first 2 episodes of that show. But there was a lot of hype. It was really hyped up as it aired. Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night, much more not for everyone. It was a lot more not unique because there were elements that are obviously in a ton of other anime, but it's not an action show.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to be as popular. Just not as popular.
Yeah.
I think.
Then after that, we got best new series. Goes to Solo Leveling.
This could have gone to any of them.
Yeah.
I'm okay with this winning best new series, especially looking at the success of season 2 now. People love it. It's kind of
One of the
making that
one of the other
JJK
things-
spot.
Yeah.
And one of the other things about the Solo Leveling is it's also
It's long.
probably the best adaptation of a manhwa that we have.
Yes, that is what T-Bait's pretty good.
So
T-Bait
unfortunately, with some of our other manhwa adaptations, just really
got a high
fell
score.
short.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Tower of God? Nope.
yeah.
Nope.
That also.
Anybody?
It was. It could have been good, and then
What
it
could
just.
have been?
Yeah, it was one of those very much could have been.
That's what that's what the T-Bait fans are saying. So much so they wanted the anime to get canceled.
Dang.
Yeah, I think this is a good one. Obviously, all of these series are fantastic. I'm going to be watching. I mean, some of them I already am or have watched season 2 of those shows.
Yeah.
Then we have season 2 coming out in summer.
Yep. Kaiju number 8 season 2 comes out in summer.
So going to be watching those.
Yep.
No way I'm not. I honestly, they were all really good, and I think just the level of pull that Solo Leveling has gone, the massive following. I think this is a
Understandable.
pretty good
Makes sense.
best new series, I
Yeah.
would say.
Next category, we got best continuing series. Goes to Demon Slayer.
Oh, this is so weak in my opinion.
It is. Yeah. Again, it does obviously come down to preference a little bit because, like, obviously you're looking at the nominations. Bleach, if you never watched Bleach before, you're not going to try and jump in now. One Piece, same thing, but it's even longer than Bleach.
Well, this is kind of the One Piece award. I feel like it's won the past
Yeah.
long time.
Spy Family, again, It's more of a comedy. It's a slower pace than most people would like. My Hero, feel like season 5 and 6, it definitely takes a little bit of a slight different story for a little bit. So, if you liked it, you would probably continue. But if not,
You say that, but then this
But-
is the training arc of Demon Slayer.
that's the issue too that I have with this.
Just not the best season at all. My assumption is we voted for Bleach,
We did.
and yeah, I just thought that Studio P, especially with the starting of the period films, like basically starting it for making Bleach, and they are just doing such a good job. It makes you. The one sad part is it makes you look at all of the Studio P anime that you've probably seen before, and you're like, man, if only like this was what they did for all of that. Like,
Yeah.
you think of Naruto, you think of I was gonna say Black Clover, but there are a lot of Black Clover fans, so I'm gonna say Black Clover.
Yeah.
I'll throw Black Clover in there. You think of Tokyo Ghoul. If it got the level of detail and love that's going into Bleach, the 1,000-Year Blood War arc right now, like
it'd be even.
all those shows would be just unreal.
Yeah.
And I think they're doing such a good job. It's a very fun arc too, because it's just all gas, because it's the final there's nothing much more to say than that. Like, obviously it's just full steam ahead. Oshinoko season 2, similar to Spy Family, like it's not a shonen. It's a drama, it's not going to have the same pull, but it's pretty solid. I just think that it would have been nice to see any of the other ones win, just because this specific arc is definitely one of the weakest of the whole story.
Yeah.
And if you're new around here, we're not Demon Slayer haters, but
This is our least
the
favorite.
story
arc.
is also just not that unreal to begin with.
This is, in my opinion, I think this arc for me is also weak because this is an arc that could have created so much more lore for the world too, because we get focused a little bit more on the Hashira.
Yeah, like we bounce around a few of them.
And I'm like, this could have been the arc that would have made the world so much more in depth, but it is what it is. Any opinion on this one, Gray?
Nope.
Nope.
So we got 2 categories left. Do we want to kind of discuss how we feel about these 2 categories before we go through them?
What's the next one?
Film of the year and anime of the year.
Yeah, we can go to Film of the Year.
So film of the year goes to Look Back. Yeah, I mean, that's the one we picked. I agree.
It was great.
I mean, I've only seen
sad
a couple
AF.
of these, but
Maybe sad AF. That's for sure.
yeah.
Haikyuu was also just chef kiss. Dumpster Battle is really well.
I definitely am way more partial to the look back of everything. I'm glad Look Back won because, I don't know, whenever you have tie-offs or sub-series or even sequel movie styles to shows, I'm always just like, there's so much more to already base things off of. Like, Haikyuu already has who knows how many seasons
Oh yeah,
already
for sure.
attributing to that, to then tack on a movie and be like, oh yeah, that was a great best movie of the year. And I'm like, dude, you have like so many more prior stuff to like base things off of. Or I'm like, something like Look Back, which is a self-contained story, I just feel like deserves it more.
Yeah, because Look Back and The Colors Within are the only 2 out of the 6 that are not a sequel to something or a spin-off of something, right?
Yes.
Because obviously Haikyuu, like you said, My Hero Academia, this is the 4th My Hero movie. Mononoke, this is the first Mononoke movie, but they've already done a show and stuff before, and then obviously Spy Family.
Yeah, I think
So that's what
for me,
that's all. That's all.
the reason, one thing that at least Haikyuu's gone for is, one, it's canon. That's, looking at you, Spy Family, and My Hero, like, what are you doing here with your filler crap? Haikyuu, the thing I do really enjoy from this film is they took a few you can tell that it was higher quality than just your average episodes or season when it came to some of the directorial choices. I think back to going to the first person POV with some flashbacks, and it was just a very cool way of looking at volleyball being played, which we hadn't seen in the show yet, which I really enjoyed. But yeah, I definitely agree. It almost feels like Film of the Year really should only be
original, non-connected. Not original, but non-connected.
Yeah, it should
well,
be like
self-contained work.
Yeah.
stories. Yeah. And it shouldn't be. Yeah, you shouldn't be able to throw like. Not saying Studio Bones didn't do a good job on the My Hero movie, but like
it was actually pretty good.
it's just filler crud.
I mean, if you want to have a split, maybe it should be a split category where you have like Film of the Year with the self-contains, and then you have spin-off films based off of already existing series.
Spin-off / art
something.
movie
Sequel
or something.
films or something,
Yeah.
Now, the final category, the big one, the anime of the year, goes to Solo Leveling. All I'm going to say, I made a joke about calling it.
Yeah.
But I'm not happy about it.
Not happy about it.
We discussed this a little bit earlier, but for me personally, when you look at these 6 nominations, this one is in 6th place for me personally, because unfortunately, when it comes to
I agree.
When it comes to this, it is kind of a popularity contest.
It absolutely is a popularity contest. Like we already mentioned previously, season 2 airing during the voting
definitely helped it a lot.
Season 2 had a ton of hype, and I think I speak for all of us when I say that none of us dislike Solo Leveling.
No.
We all like it. We all enjoy it for what it is.
I was going to say, I think you guys are probably more upset about this winning than I am, but maybe I'm more just numb to it anyway.
I think you're definitely numb to it. There's no way you think Solo Leveling Season 1 is better. You never shut up about Dandadan.
Oh, well, yeah, if we're talking about things like that, but like the anime for Dandadan is good. I talk about the manga for Dandadan a lot more.
But you know what I mean? It's not like they did a bad job with the show at all.
No. I never expected, like, I was kind of hoping and maybe thinking that Fear would win with how much, how popular it is on Mal and everything like that. I was like, oh yeah, maybe Fear will do it. But then, like, the classic thing comes up where Frieren is not an action sequence series, and therefore it cannot win Anime of the Year.
It also had the slow build up at the start. Yeah. It's not like Frieren dived right into fighting. It was very like kind of getting into.
I mean, but isn't that also what you said about Solo Leveling, where they really didn't get into it until like the last episode of the season?
Right.
But that was
for action anime.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we're also just piggybacking onto the fact that Solo Leveling also has its season 2 out, so people are like kind of also focused on that.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some recency bias to a show that wasn't even the same thing they were voting for. I think that's definitely part. And another thing is I think a lot of people, due to the hype of season 2 of Solo Leveling, are probably started watching season 1, ripped right through to season 2, and they don't even know that
it's a
separate the end
thing,
point. They're just like, it's one show to them, right?
Yeah.
And that's part of the other issue. I mean, we've discussed this for Mal entries in general, is like how we're judging a season of a show doesn't mean the next season's going to be as good, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I guess this brings up the question of, should Crunchyroll introduce a section of the awards that is specific to popularity vote, and then have their own panel of judges that decide what all of these genres are, like what the winners are for all of these genres, like all these spots.
That's something I feel like that's still just hard to actually organize. How do we know that Crunchyroll judges are actually going to be?
You don't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the
non-biased
same
either.
It's the same as the Oscars and any other.
Exactly. So, as soon as it starts to generate revenue, or anything, it's like, oh, all of your actual opinions that might be valid out the window. Like,
but maybe, I don't know. Maybe we look at some anime YouTubers, but maybe we look at some people that are doing blogs, like writing reviews for series, and kind of a mix of all of those to make a panel, and then you go through. The other thing that I also think, and this one wouldn't be as hard either way, is seeing the order. What came first? Solo Leveling? What's second?
I would like
third?
to see that, yeah.
And maybe do more of like I watch a lot of some sports. I watch hockey, football, not American football, but soccer. But a lot of awards are done in point format for order in which. So if you're voting for, say, the MVP, you put down your top 5, and first place gets X amount of points, second X amount of points, and slowly diminishes, right?
Yeah,
and
that might. That's. I think that's also how they do manga voting.
Oh, is that how they do manga voting? So, and
I think that's how they do similar things for manga, where people, when they're submitting their favorite manga and so on and so forth, it literally, for like their magazines, like in Shonen Jump, they will literally have that where it's a tiered system where they'll be like, this is my first favorite, second favorite, third favorite.
That's right. Jump does put your top 3, and you have to pick from whatever amount of series are in there, like 15.
Yeah. So, and then that does affect things in a way.
And
I think that's how they should do it.
I don't know if it would necessarily change who won, but it would definitely shift, and it would be cool to see, like, okay, Solo Leveling had this many votes, and Free Run had this many votes, but it had the most second place votes.
Yeah. I do have the nominations up versus, like how many they won, for example, looking at these 6. Because, like, as a whole, including all the voice acting performances and stuff like that, Dan to Dan had 22 nominations. Free Run had 20. Delicious and Dungeon had 16. Kaiju Number 8 had 16. Apothecary Diaries had 13. Solo Leveling had 13. If we look at the winnings based on those, Delicious and Dungeon, 0. Apothecary Diaries, 1. And then we got Kaiju Number 8, 0, I believe.
Yep.
And then Dan Dan got 3.
Which 2 of them were based on the opening song.
Yep. Free Run got 4. And Solo Leveling got 9. So out of the 13. So they only lost 4 categories.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is the issue with popular vote, right? Like, if it's exciting, and this is the thing. Like, none of us dislike Solo Leveling. I think it's good at what it is. It's a very classic power fantasy, but it's fun to watch. If you play any video games, like, it also kind of has that element that is fun to see and done pretty well. But yeah, I just don't know. For me, lacks a lot of. I mean, there's basically one character for as far as I'm concerned, especially in season 1, that you're paying attention to, and that character is, as we mentioned, very bland. It's like you can put anyone there because there's no
Ambus character,
no real personality, which is. Some of these other shows have amazing characters. Some have some have 2 or more. Some have a whole group of characters that have depth on top of pretty crazy and dramatic or inspiring themes. And it's just, would be nice to see a show that actually was more than just raw action. But like I said, you guys both weren't surprised. I was hoping for the best. I was really hoping.
Didn't want it to, but we
I
all
thought
knew
that
deep
a
down.
show that could bring Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood off of Mal and stay there at the top for highest rated would have a chance in the Crunchyroll Awards.
It's also the one that we wanted. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Whether it had a chance, it's what I consider to be what was the best anime of the year.
End of the day, right? We're just covering the popular vote, basically, of the most popular show. But yeah, I wonder if in the future we'll see the Crunchyroll Awards change or migrate to another style or have maybe 2 shows. I mean, I know that it's expensive to
Curious
run.
what they'll do for next year, because next year is obviously the 10th anniversary. So I don't know if they're going to do anything extra special, but we'll be here to cover it.
Yeah, and
okay. Hope you're ready to see Solo Leveling win again, or maybe not, because
I really hope everyone forgets about it and that something.
No,
else...
but it's like the recency bias. We'll see how much it has into play, where it's just like maybe something newer that just came out slightly more close to the awards wins, instead of Solo Leveling, when they're like, well, Solo Leveling probably wasn't even that good in comparison to this new thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Which all I'm saying is that Free Run Season 2 is supposed to air winter 2026.
Yeah, true.
So,
it is nice to see certain things, nominated. I mean, Free Run, nice to see it there at least, recognized, Dan. We've all 3 of us have hyped it up immensely. Tune in for this month, where we will be discussing potentially some more fun things about the series. Delicious in Dungeon was its own unique kind of feel and vibe. It was nice to see that nominated. I know Matt's a huge Kaiju number 8 fan, so I'm sure he was really excited to see that.
I was surprised in a good way to see Kaiju number 8.
Even if it didn't win anything, it was nice to see it get recognized for a lot of the spots. And although the Apothecary Diaries really didn't win anything, it won the voice actor.
Yeah.
Hopefully season 2 can bring home something.
Hopefully.
And
but that's one more thing I actually want to say is, do you think Solo Leveling should not have even been nominated for Anime of the Year? Because I think it's fine being here. To be honest, I actually prefer it to something like Kaiju number 8, and to be honest, and I actually liked it more than Delicious in Dungeon.
I think it definitely has its place, mostly due to the wave.
Like we did say, it was the best. Like we agreed that
it's based off of a different source.
Yeah, I
in
think
terms
it's
of
allowed to
new
be here.
series.
Like I don't think we need to shun it in any way.
No, yeah, I don't. I'm not, and like I said, I write in my notes, like I have it literally written here that we all like the series. It's not that it's bad, but Delicious in Dungeon for me, like personally, when I'm thinking of anime year, I'm thinking of everything that makes up
all encompassing. Yeah,
not
depth of
just
character, animation,
the
intro,
story,
outro, everything. Yeah,
like everything that
background,
makes
OST.
up a show. And Solo Leveling is honestly just an action show. Like that's end all be all super power scaling craziness. Like
it sells, baby.
And for me, that's just not good enough to ever be anime of the year, in my opinion, no matter how well it's done. That's just my opinion. I think it's totally fine to be nominated, but I don't think it should ever win, because to have anime of the year, you should still have those other elements that make a good story.
Mm-hmm.
It should have the good animation. It should have the good art, the good background art. It should have good voice acting. It should have good character progression or development. You know, maybe you go one way for it because it's also only based on one season, right? So maybe you only get progression of a certain character. It should have other good supporting cast, and that's just not what Solo Leveling for the most part is. Yeah, and that's why for me it's just not ever going to be my anime of the year. Like we said, our anime year was something different, but I do recognize its popularity, its influence on, like, how many people have you talked to that aren't even anime fans that have seen it? I've talked to a good amount that have seen this, Solo
It makes
Leveling.
sense, yeah.
You guys talk to people, okay? Yeah, nope, can't.
But like, it has had a
outside scary.
It has had impact even outside of the anime.
Yeah, your traditional
it's
anime
big
community. Yeah,
it has that much of a pull because of its ease of watch, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people just like some more basic
Right,
action
but
shows.
then that's the funniest thing. Now we put this in front of something like Attack on Titan, which also had that same effect, and you're just like, shows aren't really all that comparable, are they?
But a lot of people didn't keep following Attack on Titan.
No, in the end they
Part
didn't.
of
I'm
that
just saying.
was also due to how large the break was
Yeah.
between season 1 and season 2. But I would be very interested to see the numbers of how many people outside the anime community who originally watched Attack on Titan season 1 actually ended up watching the entire series.
Didn't Attack on Titan also win an award of some kind?
yeah, it did win.
Yeah, it won like I don't know if it was like the decade or
It was some actual fancy award.
yeah, it was like
Let me see if
Impact
I can find
Award
that real
or
quick.
something like. While you're looking that up, I'll just go into my notes. I have to pull it up on my phone here.
Yeah.
Just wanted to mention that there are, if you are more into analytical or like something that gets a little bit more in the weeds, or you're more into the anime community other than just what is the biggest award show, I wanted to recommend a couple other places where you could potentially vote or pay attention to for next year, which is r/anime awards. I think that this is probably the best in terms of the voting system. They have like a jury of, a panel that's made up that votes on a certain set of nominations, and they give out the award. But there's also the popular vote for the public, and they also rank it. So, for example, if we go to action, we can see that when we go to the jury, we see that Dandadan was voted the winner. and then Bleach, and then Yuki Bakuhatsu, Kingdom, Undead Unluck. But if you switch it to public, that gets shifted, and we see then Dandadan, and then we see solo leveling Bleach. And it's just cool to see because you get both sides. You get to see what the public voted and in what order those votes went, as well as the jury. And there's also, if the comes to a consensus where both the jury and the nice big picture for that winner. And they cover most genres that you'd expect, all the big genres. And they have some production level awards as well. And also, it's a good way of also seeing some not as popular or recognized shows you might see. Like Crunchyroll Awards, we talked about how, for the most part, we're just seeing popular shows. For example, in the r/anime, we have shows such as Background Art. The winner was Ochibi-san. And that was by the jury. I didn't even hear about the show, so.
Yeah, I've never.
Delicious in Dungeon also won Anime of the Year here for the jury. You also had series like the Mononoke movie popping up in a lot more different genres, or that we only saw just for the movie for it. Basically what I'm trying to say is it definitely looks at the whole year, and there isn't as much recency bias. I think we also saw the Monogatari series show was also high ranked in a lot of the voting for this. And then the other one is the Annie Trends. Not as big, so it looks like theirs was earlier. March 9th was the date where they did their awards night. Similarly, they show the top 3 of each category. They do have some things that go a little bit more in depth, such as Best in Adapted Screenplay, Best Episode Directing.
Yeah.
So a little bit more in the weeds if that's more your cup of tea. If you want to look at awards shows that go past just what's popular or what has recently been good. Because you really, like, last year was a really, really packed year of really great shows. And I feel like a lot of shows get overlooked. Season 2s or Season 3s get overlooked for some hot, new, shiny new things. But I think r/anime is a great place to go for the r/anime awards for kind of seeing what else there is. And it's a good way to find shows that maybe you wouldn't have watched or seen on your own. So if you kind of want to avoid the Crunchyroll craziness,
there's some other options for you.
It's a good option.
And Global Impact Award is what it's called.
Global Impact was, yeah.
That's what it was.
Which is, I feel like that's a deserving award.
Yeah.
Hey, there weren't even nominees, and you want to know what? That's fine.
I mean, I guess you could argue probably maybe One Piece.
Maybe when it's done.
But maybe a lot of people are watching One Piece now because it's 1,000+ episodes.
Yeah.
How many episodes is Attack on Titan? Maybe like 80 something?
70-ish plus a couple movies. Because it's like
Probably
24, then 12, then 12, then like 16, then 10, then a couple movies or something.
Yeah. I mean, say what you want about the ending, but that was definitely, did have an impact. Could go down as a modern classic, some could say. But,
on Titan. 25, 12, 22.
Oh, you counting?
I'm just pulling it up. Yeah, we got 25, 12, 12, 10, 16, 12, 2 specials. So 94, which includes the 2 movies, or the 2 specials, sorry.
Okay.
So 92 eps and 2 specials.
Yeah. I mean, if you haven't seen it, go see it.
Go watch it.
Or read it. It'll be quicker. But yeah, that's been the Crunchyroll Anime Awards. Like we said, maybe some ups, some downs, some not surprises for some people.
Yeah.
Gray, once again, thank you for coming on to the show. Maybe we'll see you in a future episode. To be
maybe,
determined.
probably.
TBD.
We'll see you again. Don't you worry. But thank you guys for watching, listening, subscribing. Do you guys agree with the Crunchyrolls? Do you not? What do you guys think?
Drop your comments down below.
On Spotify. They got the comments on the Spotify now.
Yeah, it's true. And if not, just click like and rate our podcast 5 stars to let us know how much you like or dislike the Crunchyroll Awards.
Exactly.
Give 5 stars.
5 stars regardless
for liking and 5 stars for disliking.
Exactly. But until then, we'll see you guys next week where we're gonna be talking about more nerdy stuff.
Yeah, hit that outro.
TNMP, the Nerdy Misfit Podcast. Don't forget to join the island by dropping a follow. Thank you. And see you next week.